Kazuya, you've won this round.
戦いとは最後にどちらが立っているか、それだけだ。
Greetings all, my name is Kontrol. I'm a professional artist, a huge fan of classic Marvel and DC comics, and absolutely not running a how-to YouTube channel. On the fateful day I decided to begin posting art on this channel, I knew immediately its focus would not be teaching. I had created video art lessons before and learned a couple of things doing them. Number one, there are a finite amount of things a comic art specialist is actually qualified to teach beginners, so it wouldn't be very long before I started posting tedious slop like "How to draw forehead wrinkles." Number two, art tutorials means drawing things that are no fun to draw, and frankly boring to look at after you've drawn it. So, Kontrol Incorporated's 5-year mission is drawing cool characters from cool games doing cool things while looking cool.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm not sure how he got in the mix, but here we are. All that being said, for all the amazing self-taught superstars making the rounds on Instagram, a few of us old-timers had real deal art teachers to guide us through the bad times. I define the bad times as the first million or so awful drawings every artist makes before finally creating their first good drawing. Now, at 13, I started art and design high school in New York City, where one teacher broke down 3 specific things that every freshman needed to begin doing immediately. Tips so instantly effective and technically vital that they are still the driving force in every drawing I do decades later. I feel obligated to pass the secret sauce on, even though this is not a teaching channel. In fact, full disclosure, it's not really secret sauce. It's not a combination of rare minerals that have to be consumed before midnight every Tuesday. Most art students will have heard at least one of them before, and pros will send me the following t-shirts. But I have it on the highest authority that not every subscriber on this channel is an art student or a pro.
You're welcome, Kontrol.
Okay, maybe not the highest authority, but I'm already committed to the bit. We're gonna do this fast and dirty. There's a test at the end, which you are encouraged to cheat on. So let's kick things off with an unnecessarily big and obvious title card.
What the hell was that?
Now, even raw newbies know drawings are just lines on the page. They provide the form of whatever the artist is trying to create. The object of the game is having the lines represent proper anatomy, proportion, and perspective. But even when that goes haywire, the presentation can be drastically improved when the lines themselves are sharp and polished. It's similar to the handwriting philosophy of neatness counts, only better since drawing is all visual. A neatly handwritten 4-star review of Endgame is still dog poop.
You're never gonna let it go, are you?
Hulk doesn't even throw a punch. Fat Thor, Captain America can't. They ruined Infinity War.
You wanted to get this under 10 minutes, Kontrol. I knew you couldn't do it.
You get sharp and polished lines by making your major strokes quickly. When you move your pen or pencil across the page slowly, as if the slightest mistake will trigger the next Michael Bay Transformers movie, you end up with wobbly or segmented lines. Draw them fast. It takes some practice to get comfortable doing it, and not every single line requires it, but the end result will make for a better finished product even if your other technical skills are still cooking. Moving on. When staring down the blank white canvas, the challenge is to draw something with the appearance of weight and thickness. Something that looks 3-dimensional on the 2-dimensional flat surface of the artboard. This is greatly helped along by reducing everything you see to basic geometric shapes: cubes, cylinders, spheres, and triangles. Doing this helps artists sort out the huge amount of visual detail in everyday objects and life forms. Seems to me an airplane is just a big cylinder, connected to a series of triangles and smaller cylinders. A car is just angular cubes stacked with cylinders for wheels. But suppose we're dealing with something a bit more complex, like say a dinosaur. Hey, here's one now. I said, here's one now. Thank you.
My bad.
Now, asking a beginner to draw this guy is asking for a lot of visual detail to be calculated correctly. What will help is getting the dinosaur's basic structure and proportions correct. Start by finding our shapes in the form. For living things, I like to begin with a center line that represents the flow of the figure. Just stacking up a few ovals and triangles can capture the size and shape of our creature with just a few adjustments. The next step is drawing a more true-to-life outline, using the shapes as a guide. If I had started my true-to-life outline without shapes providing a skeleton, it would have been a real challenge to get the proportions correct. A good exercise for this tip is just quickly sketching everything around you in the form of basic shapes. If you're confused about squares and rectangles, pay close attention to the subscribe button below this video. If it's red, click that bitch! What were we talking about again? My default art style could hardly be called realistic, but whenever I'm drawing some place or something that exists in our real world, I always reference that item before trying to draw it. Even if you're taking extreme liberties with the details or creating a highly stylized version of this item, knowing the real world appearance of something always makes for a better drawing because it reads more visually authentic. It's difficult to pull the intricate deals of even everyday things like a suburban home directly from your memory. If you need to draw a house, look for a picture of a real house. You can play around with the details, but always let real life guide you. If you trust nothing else I say in this video, trust this one. It's a sure thing, and it doesn't even require practice to get right. If you need proof, draw a pair of Air Jordans without looking at a photo of them. Then draw them again after examining a photo, or an actual pair if they happen to be in your closet somewhere. You can repeat this exercise with literally any visible thing that exists. Now, here on this channel, the most vital reference of all is the in-game characters themselves. I might have drawn a passable Kazuya strictly from memory, but I would have had to make up a bunch of the details. It's only after examining screenshots that the decals on his pants and the knot in his belt could have been drawn right. I knew he had a belt and decals on his pants, but I couldn't picture them accurately. Same with the wings and horns in his devil version. I didn't even remember he had a tail.
Turns into the devil?
Yes.
That's when he starts messing with Cuphead and Mugman?
No. Well, I don't know. Maybe. What?
I want to know about Kazuya.
Fine. Kazuya started out as the main character in the very first Tekken. He is the son of Heihachi Mishima, the main villain of the first game, and they thus have a very similar fighting style, at least back in those days. We're up to Tekken 7 now, and they're pretty different in a lot of ways.
Yeah, what's this about him turning into the devil?
Oh, well, when Kazuya was a boy, his father, Heihachi, tossed him off a cliff. Near death, his devil gene came to life and he began a crusade to kill Heihachi and take over the world in a purple business suit.
You could have just said don't ask.
Now, tossing your kids off mountains is generally frowned upon, but you have to appreciate how it motivated little Kazuya Mishima. I mean, look at him. His muscles have muscles. And he even managed not to inherit his father's receding hairline. I feel like it's not worth it to get too far into the details of the Mishima family saga. It's generally a mishmash of goofy family connections, corporate skullduggery, and big-time retconning, all with a make-it-up-as-we-go quality that's only useful for working the word skullduggery into a sentence. Tekken 7 does seem to try and assemble the insane amount of plot nonsense into something semi-coherent, but it honestly is just an amusing sidebar to the versus action, which is still pretty good. Anyway, thanks for dropping in on my first ever pinup in this fighting series. It's kind of hard to believe given how long I've been a huge fan of Tekken. If you enjoyed this presentation, do remember to like and subscribe, and tour the channel for videos like this one. You may have missed a couple dozen. We aim for at least one upload a week, a tricky target to hit, but we've leveled up our scopes. Up next on the channel, solve this riddle. It's black, furry, and flies about. Try not to be scared if you can. It likes to hang out upside down, and Bruce Wayne is this type of man.